Guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello and welcome. I am Taylor. I'm a stay-at-home mom of 2 and I share these what's for dinner videos every Sunday to hopefully give you guys some meal ideas and motivation to cook more for your family. If you're new here, I would love it if you hit that subscribe button down below and leave me a thumbs up so you guys can come back for my future videos. As always, any recipes that I mention will be linked down below. Now let's go ahead and get into this week's what's for dinner. For Friday night's dinner, we are trying a new recipe that actually comes from my friend Jess over at Jess and the Boys. This is called Cowboy Beans, and when I saw her make it, I immediately knew I wanted to try it. It looked so good, and it did not disappoint. It was so good. I will definitely be making this again. I will not be sharing exact measurements or anything in this video. I will have notes on the screen for the ingredients, but if you want exact measurements, go check out her video. I will have it linked up in the cards and the description box down below. This reminded me of something that me and Andy used to make all the time. If you've been here for a long time, you have seen it. It's a super quick, easy, cheap meal, and we just used to always take 1 pound of ground beef and mix it with 1 can of Bush's baked beans, and that was dinner, like with like a side of green beans or something. But just mix the beef and the beans together and it was really good. This was like that, but kicked up, and just like it was like a grown-up version. It was so much more flavorful and really delicious. I highly recommend you try this recipe. For these cowboy beans, I did do 2 things differently. They put them in the oven, but I honestly didn't feel like pulling out my giant Dutch oven, so I just simmered it on the stove for a little bit, and then they used American cheese and I decided to use cheddar instead. Okay, here is our finished dinner. We've got the cowboy beans, and then to go with it, I made some Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuits and some green beans. And Jess actually shared in the same video as this. They had like Cheddar Bay biscuits, but she made hers like homemade, not with the box. I used the box because I had it. But check out her video because she made those like basically homemade. Like they're basically the same thing. So that's our dinner. Here are the kids' plates. Make sure that you go over and check out Jess's channel and the video. I will have it linked down below. Hey guys, it is Saturday and I am about to start dinner. I'm going to be making some chicken enchiladas and some Mexican rice tonight. And I didn't thaw my chicken last night, so I thawed it out this morning. And usually for chicken enchiladas, I like to cook the chicken in the crock pot like all day with a little bit of enchilada sauce. But since, like I said, I forgot to thaw out my meat, I thawed it out earlier, and now I'm about to put it in my pressure cooker, and I'm going to cook this on manual high pressure for 10 minutes, and then do a 10-minute natural release. But we want to make sure that there is some liquid in here. So online, I saw a recipe, and they use like 1 cup of water, and then like some other seasoning like Italian and stuff. But I'm going to do 1 cup of, or I'm going to do half a cup of water and then some of this tomato, a bouillon. It's tomato and chicken. And then I'm also going to add in some of my enchilada sauce, probably about a half a cup. So then I'll have a total of 1 cup of liquid. And then I'm also going to add in some taco seasoning. Okay, this naturally released for 10 minutes. And so chicken should be done. I'm going to take it out, put it in my KitchenAid to shred it, and then we're going to put together our enchiladas, and then I'll clean this out and make my rice in here. Okay, chicken is shredded. I have these corn tortillas. I usually always do flour, but Andy's dad gave us these corn, so I'm going to use corn today. And so I've got that, and the rest of the enchilada sauce. I'm going to spread a little bit of that in the bottom. fill my corn tortillas with chicken and some cheese. And for cheese, I have some of this quesadilla cheese and some cheddar cheese. Here is dinner. I have 2 enchiladas and some rice, and the recipe for this rice will be linked down below. I've made it so many times and showed it, and so that'll be linked down there. I did half it because the recipe calls for 2 cups of rice, and that just makes so much rice. So I do 1 cup of rice, just half that recipe. And then this is Elijah's plate. He's got 1 enchilada and some rice. And Lily went to dinner with her grandpa. They went and had Mexican, so I thought it was a perfect night for us to have Mexican. But that is going to be dinner for Saturday. It is Sunday, and tonight's dinner is another recipe from a friend here on YouTube. This is from Kat over at Southern Farm and Kitchen. She has a dedicated recipe video for this. It is green beans, sausage, and potatoes, and it smells really good. I tasted one of the potatoes, and it tasted delicious. I haven't had the rest of it yet, but I will have a link down below so that you can check that out for the recipe. And so we were just having that with some homemade bread. I just made this bread, and this recipe came from Tiffany over at Large Family Love, so I will have the link to her video where she made that down below. When I make it again, I will definitely film it for you guys, but it came from a Betty Crocker book I think she had, and it had shortening in it, which I think is what is making it like stay together and be less crumbly. It definitely looks better than the sandwich bread that I usually make, so I'm impressed. It's still warm, like it literally just came out of the oven. But yeah, that's going to be our dinner. Here are my 2 beautiful loaves of bread. It is Monday, and tonight for dinner we are having spaghetti. It is 4 o'clock, and I am starting to make the spaghetti sauce. This needs to simmer for like 2.5 hours. So dinner will be ready right about 6:30. So I'm getting it started now. I haven't found a really good spaghetti sauce recipe yet, so we are trying a new one. It's called Easy Homemade Spaghetti Sauce. I will have a link down below, but I will let you guys know how we end up liking this. So for this, I have some sugar, some oregano, salt, pepper, crushed red pepper flakes, 1.5 pounds of ground beef. I have some green pepper. This is actually 2 green peppers that I cut up. I'm going to use half of this for chili later this week and half of it for the spaghetti tonight. I have some minced garlic and 4 of these massive cans of crushed tomatoes with basil. And then I did use my onion chopper and diced up 1 small onion. So I'm going to start off by browning my ground beef in here. I'm going to mostly brown it all the way through, and then I'm going to add in the pepper and onion, and then once all that's cooked, I'm going to add in everything else and then just let that simmer for like 2 to 2.5 hours. Okay, sauce is finished. It simmered for 2.5 hours, so this is what it's looking like. I tasted it and it tastes pretty good. I don't know if it's my favorite. I still have like 1 or 2 other recipes that I'm going to try. Of course, we will eat all this. I'm probably going to end up freezing some because this is a lot. Like you can see, my Dutch oven is almost full, and this is after I got the kids a nice plate. Andy will still eat later when he comes home. I'm sure we'll eat some leftovers tomorrow for lunch, but then I will probably end up putting this all in jars and freezing it, or Ziploc bags. But like I said at the beginning, the recipe for that will be linked down below, and I just made some air fryer broccoli to go with it. So there's my plate, and Lily's plate, and Elijah's plate. It is Tuesday, and tonight for dinner, we went off the meal plan. Tonight we were supposed to have bourbon chicken. I even thought out the chicken thighs, but then I didn't feel like making it. It's been a rainy, like dreary day here. It was yesterday too, and it's supposed to be tomorrow. I just wasn't feeling like cooking a bunch. So we did grilled cheese and tomato soup, and this is on that homemade bread that I made the other day, which we absolutely love this homemade bread. It stays together so much better than the ones that I've made in the past. It's really similar to like a store-bought bread in the way that it holds together, and the crust is really good. We've just really been liking it. It doesn't crumble and fall apart as much as the other ones that I've made before. So definitely love that. I will leave Tiffany's video linked down below, as I said. And if you guys want, I can also share it in a video at some point when I make it again. And then we have tomato soup. I talk about this soup all the time. It is the Progresso Hearty Tomato Soup. It is our absolutely favorite. If you have not tried it, you definitely should try it because it is that good. But yeah, we've just got the grilled cheese, and we have a little bit of American cheese and a little bit of cheddar cheese on these. And then the soup, and that's going to be dinner for Tuesday. It is Wednesday, and tonight for dinner I am making the bourbon chicken. I found this recipe on Pinterest, so I'll be sure to link it down below. So this is the stuff I'm going to be using for that. But first, I'm going to be starting my rice. I have 2 cups of white rice in my pressure cooker with 2 cups of water. I did rinse this rice really well, and then I added in a little bit of vinegar and a little bit of oil and a little bit of salt. And then I'm going to cook this on high pressure for 5 minutes and let it naturally release. Okay, so for the bourbon chicken, I have 2 pounds of chicken thighs. And I'm going to cut these into like 1-inch pieces and cut off most of the fat. And then we're going to make a sauce with some bourbon, some soy sauce, rice vinegar, ground ginger, garlic powder, some pepper, some brown sugar, and then we're going to need some water as well, and that'll make the sauce. And then in here we're going to have some cornstarch and water. That's going to thicken up the sauce after we cook the chicken in the sauce. But I'm going to saute this chicken once I cut it up in the pan, and then once it's cooked through, we're going to pour this sauce over it, let it simmer for a little bit to let the alcohol cook out. And then, as I said, we'll use that cornstarch to thicken it up. It looks like this is going to come together pretty quickly. Once the chicken is cooked, it should take like 15 minutes after that. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to make the sauce first, then cut up my chicken and get that cooking. All right, here are our plates. We've got the bourbon chicken over that white rice, and then I just made some green beans to go with it, and that just has garlic powder, pepper, chicken bouillon, and I think that's it in it. And that is going to be dinner for Wednesday, and I will be sure to leave a note here on the screen letting you know how you like this, but I do know it smells delicious. For Friday for dinner, I am making chili. This is what we call Andy's chili recipe. I've mentioned it before. I have a whole video on it. That will be linked down below with measurements. It's the same as I always make it. I started on the stove cooking the meat, the onions, the green pepper, and some of the spices. And then by the time my meat is done, I've already got everything else ready in the crock pot, and then we could just like mix it all together, and then it cooks for usually about 8 hours on low. You can do it on high as well for like 4. The longer you cook it, the better. It just tastes better the longer it can cook. I have started doing something different recently, and that is adding in some cayenne pepper to give it a little bit of a kick. So I add in 1/8 of a teaspoon to the beef when I'm cooking it, and then I add in 1/2 of a teaspoon like to the actual crock pot with everything else. We've really been liking it just a little bit spicier. And I am going to be trying something new to go with this chili, so that's going to be coming up after I make the chili. To go with our chili for dinner tonight, I am making a new recipe called Mexican bubble bread. If you've been here a while, you know I've said before, my family doesn't really care for cornbread. I do, but they don't. They like think it's too sweet, even when I do one that's not that sweet. Whatever. So instead of just doing saltines like we usually do, I decided to try a Mexican bubble bread. I will leave the recipe for that down below. So over here I have melted 1 stick of butter. I'm going to take this butter wrapper and grease my bundt pan. I don't remember where I saw that tip, but if you save these, you can just use them to grease pans and stuff. And then I have 2 cans of biscuits. We are going to open these and quarter the biscuits. I'm going to use my scissors for that. It says to use some like Mexican cheese and mozzarella cheese, but I only have this much mozzarella. So I'm going to use that and then do the rest Mexican. It calls for a total of 3 cups. So I have this Fiesta blend, that's Monterey Jack, cheddar, and queso quesadilla cheese. And then I've got a small can of diced green chilies. And then it also calls for some parsley, so I'm going to get that. Basically, I'm going to mix everything together in here except for the biscuits. And then once that's all mixed together, I will cut up my biscuits and mix that in, and then once this is greased, I'll put that in there, and then this is going to bake at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. Here is the finished chili, and I will go ahead and remove these peppers at some point. I just haven't done it yet because I'm gonna let this like sit on warm for a couple more hours till Andy gets home, and then I'll probably remove the peppers before I put this away later. But this has been cooking for 6 hours on low. You can definitely cook it longer. It's usually better the longer it cooks. It's even better like the next day. I don't know if you feel the same way, but like lasagna and chili and stuff is always better like as it's like sat in the fridge, and then like leftovers are even better. I feel like the spices and stuff just kind of like meld together while it's in the fridge, and it just gets even better. So yeah, I will remove those. I'm just not going to do it right now. I'm about to cover this and let it just sit on low for the next couple hours. And then here is how our bread turned out. See how nicely it came out of the bundt pan because I greased it really well. And I actually cooked this longer. This said 30 minutes. At 30 minutes, it didn't look like it was done. It still looked a little bit too doughy. So I put it in there for another 15 minutes. And I covered the top of it with some foil so it didn't get too browned. And now it's perfect and it's so delicious. I would definitely recommend this. So, so good. And I know it's going to be really good with this chili. So I am excited to have dinner. But that is going to wrap up another week of what's for dinner. As always, any recipes that I mentioned are linked down below. So don't forget to check those out. And thank you guys so much for watching. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.